Welcome, colleagues, to this conversation of this afternoon. We'll be looking at the role of traditional leadership on the fight against gender-based violence. The presenter for this session, Kgosi Moshe Mabe, the chairperson of Northwest House of Traditional Leadership. Ntate Mabe volunteered to come and present to us the role that can be played by traditional leadership in the fight against gender-based violence. There's a high number of gender-based violence cases in our country, and there's a critical role that can be played by the traditional leaders of our country in the fight against gender-based violence. We thank Kgosi Mabe for availing himself. Kgosi Akarra leboga. Thanks for availing yourself to come and present to us on the role of traditional leadership in the fight against gender-based violence. Kgosi, over to you.
The participants. Our network is Yamifo.
Yes, we can hear you, Kgosi.
You can hear me.
Yes, we can hear.
Let me prepare something so that you can hear me properly.
Okay, Kgosi.
Yeah, let me just prepare something.
And those who are participating, they will like to see your face, Kgosi. They would like to see the face of Kgosi when you're presenting.
Oh, they want to see my face.
Yes, they requested that Kgosi open the video so that people can see him.
Okay. Now I'm just coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We can continue.
We can continue, Kgosi.
Yes. You have laid down the topic, the role of traditional leaders in as far as gender-based violence is concerned. The first thing that we need to put forward is that most of the time when we discuss this issue, sometimes it becomes a very sensitive issue when it comes to culture. How do we raise our people, especially the main folk? How do we, make them to see that women are same as men and they have the same rights as men? It becomes a very sensitive issue to others. But I want to say, in as far as culture and tradition are concerned, we do not practice, or we do not preach, or we do not even teach our men to become superior to female, other than some practices which have been happening in the past. And when you do those practices, when time goes on, then people tend to believe that these are cultures that will build nation. You must bear in mind that culture should be practiced whenever it's beneficial to a community. It is beneficial in the sense of protecting the people, it's protecting the vulnerable, and also making sure that it adds to the nation coming together or the community coming together. It's one thing that brings the community together. So if it alienates people or it alienates communities, obviously then we have to re-look into what we are doing as a nation or as a community, other than to continue practicing something that either hurt or it disintegrate the community. So now our role is to look into anything that unifies, anything that brings the nation together, anything that protects, anything that nurture the community to become better. And also a community that is so caring to the vulnerable. That's what we should be preaching. Now, our role here is not to protect those practices that will hurt other section of our community. But our role is to bring the community together, to teach them what is beneficial to all of us. So I think that is the role. If, of course, we are not looking at those things that bring the community together, that protect, then it becomes a problem of the legitimacy of the institution in as far as our communities are concerned. I think I have laid down the foundation for others now to can start to discuss on the matter. Okay. Hello? I can't hear.
What I'm saying, Kgosi, we will
Okay.
allow you to continue presenting, and when people want to make comments or make some inputs or questioning, they'll raise up their hands, then we can take the discussion, Kgosi.
All right, no, good.
Because people are still joining.
Okay, because I didn't hear you clear because you come and go.
Okay, Kgosi, sorry for that.
Okay. The aspect when you come to how do we then, as traditional leaders, as the houses, present this matter to our communities is that we need to come together as an institution. By that I mean across a different cultural belief, because in the province, no, in the country, in fact, we have different cultures, but we need to come together and speak with one voice to say, these are the issues that we consider disintegrating or not assisting our communities to come together. Now, because when we go to platforms, especially media platforms, we find that people that make comments or people that contribute come from different environments. They come from different experiences. They come from different cultures. So you may find that in my culture or in the environment where I come from, certain practices are not done. But when we discuss at national platform, we make it as if it's a culture, it's a norm for all of us in the country. So it is better for us when this matter is being discussed. I normally appeal to our organization, the NGOs, that they need to engage the institution, and not only province by province, but nationally, to discuss these issues so that we come up with one voice, irrespective of the culture where I come from. So sometimes when when I come from the Tswana culture and tradition, which also is not uniform, and speak against a particular culture, which of course it's not assisting, then my colleagues which are practicing that particular culture will come with their gun blazing, defending what I said or what I condemn from my cultural background. And at the end of the day, we find that we send conflicting messages to our communities. And to the extent that some may then believe that as an institution, we protect or we preach certain practices that teach men to believe that they are superior, and ultimately encouraging gender-based violence. For argument's sake, in my culture, women are, if they want to build houses on their own, they are given sites. They are assisted to get sites on their own. But you may find that in another province, in a particular culture, that woman is not allowed. And when people speak against that, and it may be that it is practiced throughout the country, only to find that it's only in a certain area in the country. So those are some of the things that really do not assist in preaching, advocating against gender-based violence, because we need to attack that practice, all of us together, the institution of traditional leaders, together with NGOs and government. We must be in the forefront against that type of behavior, because a nation that does not care for the women, which does not care for the children, obviously it is doomed to failure in future. So basically, that's what we will need to focus on. But unfortunately, we have not come to that point where, as an institution nationally, we engage and robustly at that level, and not among ourselves, because we should not be speaking to ourselves and now telling people that we are against certain things. We should be speaking together with those NGOs and government, even those that are opposed to the institution. We must be able to engage them and bring this matter forward.
Okay, that submission, Kgosi. I'll open up for inputs, questions, comments from my colleagues who are participating. Those who want to raise questions, those who want to make some inputs. Kibona Honorable Faith Mutampi, Kibona Tadeselo Magaka Ngube, Kibona Melakela Kaunta, Joyce Putswane, Faith Mutampi. Your microphone. Faith Mutampi, your microphone, please.
My apologies. Yes. Thank you, Kgosi. Thank you, Mutshwara Marapo, the chair of the session. We want to appreciate the very well-researched input by Kgosi. I should think I want to agree with what the Kgosi has said, to say then in making sure that the traditional leaders take their rightful role, the things that as we grew up, because all of us, I believe, who are in this platform, we are the products of traditional leadership. You'll recall as we grew up, Chairperson, the traditional leadership had a pivotal role to play, in the sense that how we were raised, how we grew up, how we were taught respect, that was done by our traditional leadership, like what we see today. I'm so happy that the traditional leadership now, as we are interacting with them on our side from the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, there are programs that the traditional leadership has then put in place, in essence, with regard to women empowerment, including the gender-based violence. We are living in a very violent society, if you check, colleagues. And then I think the role of traditional leaders become of very critical importance in essence, when we are trying to rebuild our Ubuntu as society. You know, from this institution of traditional leadership, we are taught values, and of critical importance when you talk of values is the respect for women. You know, I like one a rendition that was made by the late Credo Mutwa, who says a nation that doesn't respect their women then is doomed, given the current incidences of domestic violence that are leveled against women and young girls, I think the traditional leadership then needs to play that role. In the past, you remember the boys, even now, the boys are taken up to the mountains. One of the things when boys are taken to the mountain, of which this institution of the traditional leadership play a role, they are also taught on how to treat women. So I think it's of importance that this topic then, Kgosi, you try to lead in your institution that then men are again taught that those values to respect women, because in the past there were no incidences of gender-based violence because men were actually taught to respect women. So this initiative, Chairperson, I think we must start to have these debates then led by our traditional leaders. This country would then become a better place to live in. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mutambi. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mutambi. Thank you so much. Is there anyone who wants to make some inputs? Those who want to make some inputs, please raise up your hands. Those who want to make some inputs, please raise up your hands so that you can see. While we are waiting for others to raise up their hands, Kgosi, how do we mobilize other houses of traditional leaders around the country to join in this fight against gender-based violence? How do we use the House of Traditional Leaders in Northwest to mobilize other institutions, the similar institutions in other provinces? But before you come in, Mabe, let me take in
Okay, correct.
Let me take in Manyagu. Manyagu. Manyagu, you're on the floor.
Yes, thank you, Kgosi. Because I would say now that since we have got now this platform, we need to engage some other role players, and we need to strengthen the gender machinery like the OSW, because that office, maybe the position of this gender thing is not put in a better place, because if the position, like in the presidency, there's a desk there whereby they are driving this gender issue. So now, the moment that thing has been done, it will be better now to have a business plan whereby everybody will have a strategic document to feed in. Because if you are driving it bit by bit, not consolidating all the efforts, that thing is not good for the gender issue, because this gender issue is a social thing, is a social construct. Then again, this thing is a system. If you are dealing the system, you need to put other systems, because now it deals with the gender, the stereotypes, deals with the early learnings. So now people, the way they are socialized, that thing need to be dealt with.
Okay, guys, why are you busy with topless in this weather? That you're going to get sick, and really nobody wants to see themselves going to the doctor. Please behave, dress warm. In the house, it's cold.
What's happening?
Why do you want to be told the basics? I can do some peanuts.
Can we unmute our the mics, please? You can continue that first, Manyagu.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. What is key there is to contradict this system, because this system, it reinforces on the attitudes of the individuals, the stereotypes, the values. So the moment that thing is not dealt with, because the impact thereof is a direct discrimination on the part of the women. So I think the systems must be put in place, because now we are dealing with the effects. If we can deal with the causes thereof and know the system, it will be better. Because now in the system now, the women and children are denied opportunities to grow, are denied opportunities for their dignity, they are denied services. So, Chairperson, this thing is so systematic in the sense that you need to deal with it holistically, in the sense that you need to do a master plan. Master plan now, that means everybody must know what to do. Because now if we are dealing with in the corners, we can't defeat this situation. And as I know it, it enters both cultures in terms of the male folk and the women folk, because now people, the way they are conditioned, might be at an early development, they are conditioned to say the boys don't cry, the women are so weak. So now, the moment now we have a systematic document, Chairperson, it should be better. Because now, if you can teach now the customs, if the boys are going to initiation, now we need to deal with the content that they are given there. Because some of the boys, they are given maybe wrong information there. So to deal with that, we need to know how to communicate all these early learnings to the people, their behavior, Chairperson. So I think we are better placed as the chiefs and the traditional leaders, because people are coming from the rural areas going to urban areas. So now we need to deal with that thing at that level. Maybe all the levels must have a role to play. To do that, Chairperson, everybody must have a strategic document in a business plan. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. First Manyaku. Anyone who wants to come in, I can see S. Jara. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. S. Jara, please come in.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. My name is Yambonga Jaha. I'm from Right to Care, an NGO. I'm based in the Eastern Cape, and then the link, I got it from a friend who works at the Commission of Gender-Based Equality. So now, as Honorable Kgosi has highlighted, that we shouldn't focus on the cultures because it won't assist us. I thought very much that yes, I agree with his sentiments, because as we are working in the Eastern Cape, we support safe circumcision as the rite of passage of boys becoming men. So by virtue of that, we are having an MOU with the Eastern Cape House of Traditional Leaders. So we're supporting that implementation by means of bush visiting and ensuring that the boys come back alive. So I'm ecstatic to be part of this platform, because the chiefs are the custodians of the culture and of the communities. So by so saying, the traditional councils and the chiefs should take the priority and the forefront, should be the frontliners of every issue that takes place within the communities. So mine is just to support and come into part, and I would be glad if we would have more frequent platforms which have burning issues such as the gender-based violence, because it's a scourge which is ongoing, and it doesn't affect only only the part of South Africa, any part, but we should stand united against this in our ethnic cultures as vast as we are. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. Chaha. Thank you so much. Any input before I give back to Kgosi Mabe? Any other inputs? Dr. Kgosi Mabe, you can come in.
Yeah,
Kgosi Mabe, you can come in.
thank you very much. I think, yes, am I audible? Okay.
Yes.
I think we need to take heed of what the participants
I think you are fading away, Kgosi Mabe.
and also our parliamentary team. Am I hello?
Yes.
Am I clear now?
Yes, you are very clear, Kgosi.
Yeah, I'm saying I appreciate the participation.
I think you have got a problem of a network, Kgosi. While you are still sorting the network, let's take other hands. So please shift wherever you are. There's a problem with a network. We can't hear you correctly. Let's take other hands. I saw Joyce Kutswani. I don't know if your hand was up.
With one voice. Our NGOs now, in as much as they are doing good work in assisting our societies, once they have identified certain practices in our different cultures, they need to compile and approach our institution for discussion and rectification. And from there after, we will go on public, either denouncing the malpractice of certain cultures, because some cultures may have been designed for a good thing, but it's abused or it's misconstrued by certain people to achieve a certain narrow interest. So those are the those are the things that we need to be looking at, working together, and mobilizing our societies across the board, urban and rural. Because if we can, when we mobilize our society and divide our society into rural and urban, we made a mistake, because our communities are not stated. One will be in urban, and tomorrow they may be in rural. And those that are in rural may go to urban. So we need to holistically mobilize and teach our society across the board. I don't think there is anything wrong for me as Kgosi Mabe to be seen in Soweto mobilizing communities against gender-based violence, because anything that is being done in the name of the culture, irrespective of where you are in the country, it affects you. And it is our responsibility to be going out to be correcting what people are misconstruing. So these are things that we need to grow. These are things that we need to go out of our silos, out of our, comfort zones, going out, because South Africa is a unitary state. And being a unitary state, it deserves the best from all of us. If you call yourself a leader, be it a political leader, be it a traditional leadership leader, then it means you've got the responsibility, not only in the community where you are, but for all the communities in the country. Because the resources that we use as traditional leaders, they come from taxpayers across the board. I don't only use the resource contributed by my community. A person in Cape Town, in Durban, has contributed to the resource that government is giving me to do my work. And therefore, I remain indebted to the entire South Africa. So we need to grow out and say, this is a time that we need to use this resource, human resource, traditional leadership, use it, because now the nation is under attack of a behavior that is unbecoming of killing our women and children, which cannot go unnoticed and unpunished.
Thank you, Kgosi. Thank you so much. But what role can the female chiefs, what role can the queens and the female chiefs play towards the fight against gender-based violence? How can we mobilize Makhosi and the queens to participate in the fight against gender-based violence? What role can they play, and how do we mobilize them?
I think you have mentioned.
That question is for all of us to engage in.
I think you have mentioned an important point, that in the first instance, we need to empower them so that when they face the world, when they face communities, they should go all out. They should not think that they were made a favor to be there. They need to come and claim their rightful positions. And it can help us, once they are empowered, these women leaders, if we can empower them, that they, in their own right, they are leaders, then obviously the society will begin to change, that traditional leadership is not a male thing, even though it's dominated by a male, but it's not for them only. And they need to go mobilizing. I just want to see one day where our women leaders have mobilized, not girls, boys, mobilizing our boys and teaching them what is to be a man coming from a woman. Because sometimes we say men should be teaching boys how to become, but we need our women folk to be teaching these boys to show that women can also become leaders, and they can be able to teach our society to behave well. And we need them in this time of crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Kgosi. People are still joining. Anyone who wants to make some further inputs after Kgosi? Any further inputs after Kgosi? I think there was a point that was made by Honorable Faith Mutambi around the issue of legislation. We need to find a way, Kgosi and colleagues, how do we link the House of Traditional Leaders within the provinces and the portfolio committee in Parliament in for us to be having a united force in the fight against gender-based violence. So we will further engage Honorable Faith Mutambi going forward in order to find a way of mobilizing also the members of legislatures to be in the forefront against the fight against gender-based violence. But also Kgosi and his colleagues will further engage with you on how do we mobilize Basadi ba Makhosi, the queens and the female chiefs across the board so that they can be part of the program. We welcome Kgosi Moleki in our midst. Kgosi, we are in the middle of a discussion. You can make your inputs. Kgosi Moleki.
No, I've just connected, man.
Yes.
But I'm still organizing my things. I'll come back.
Okay. Dr. Fesmanyaku, any inputs? Okay. Joyce.
Okay,
Joyce,
no, Chief, I can say so far, we are driving towards a good point of consolidating all the inputs, meaning that everybody has a role to play, the cabinet, the legislature, I mean the executive, everybody. Meaning that the chief, if now they can help everybody to determine or establish some committees or forum whereby everybody will have an input. Say, I've done this in my entity, because now if we are dealing with in small places, it's not so good unless there is a driving force, maybe from the presidency, where and again develop the instruments to monitor and evaluate the progress coming maybe from a master plan. Because now everybody is crying, but crying doesn't help unless we know what are the causes. Then we deal, chief, with the causes. And in that cause, everybody has got a role to play. Then if we saw all of us, we know the problem. Then again, you can follow a four-step problem solving, whereby we have to know identify the problem, then identify the possible causes, then again identify the possible solutions, then thereby having implementable solution. That means now in every corner, and that thing, everybody will be budgeting from his component or entity to say, in my component, I'll have this strategic document to plan. That thing now, it means now a massive program for everyone, chief. So I think this is a good start, chief, but now we need to have a working document, a framework, whereby everybody will have an input. That input is inclusive of everyone. From there now, there will be an action plan that will be rolled out to everyone, so that, chief, everyone where he is, maybe in the rural areas, urban areas, in the municipalities, everyone has got a role to play. There's a plan coming to this zero budgeting from the parliament. That zero budgeting will help everybody because you are costing your programs. So now everyone would be say, I have a plan. In this plan, as a year plan, I will need to roll it out and cascade down. I will need so much money to do that. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Dr. Fesmanyagu. I want to request that all of us, please, if you go to the chat box, leave your contact details there and the email addresses so that we can invite you to the next session. Because this is not the last session, we're going to continuously having this type of discussions. Please leave your contact there on the chat box. If you go to the chat box below there, you can just leave your email address and your phone number. Joyce Kutswane, I saw your hand was up last time. Can we go to Joyce Kutswane? Joyce Kutswane? I don't know if Joyce is your Joyce.
Commissioner, can you hear me?
I saw your hand was up. I don't know if your hand was up or you.
Yes, I want to comment. Commissioner Rakolote, I've been listening to Kgosi Mabe. I didn't hear Kgosi Mabe clearly. What is it that she's saying about the role that they are playing as the traditional leaders to fight against gender-based violence? I think that the traditional leaders have a lot of influence within their communities, and they can employ that influence to promote peaceful coexistence amongst families, particularly in rural areas. As Commission for Gender Equality, we are prepared to help and to assist with regard to curb this gender-based violence. I think if ever there's a need, Kgosi Mabe, you can invite CGE and other stakeholders in order to talk to community members so as to curb this gender-based violence, which is more prominent in our villages.
Thank you, Mbe Joyce. Kgosi Mabe, there is an invite from Commission for Gender Equality. They are available to be your partner in the fight against gender-based violence. They are ever ready. So in the near future, if you need them, we can link you up with them, with the Commission for Gender Equality, so that they can be the partners with the House of Traditional Leaders in the fight against gender-based violence. Any input from other colleagues before we close? Because we are about to close now.
Hello.
Hello.
Re Rakolote le kae ra?
Who's speaking first?
Ke Rabu from the Commission for Gender Equality, based at the head office.
All right.
I just wanted to echo the sentiments that Sis Joyce has just said, to say what Sis Joyce is actually proposing is that she has done that before. We worked together with Kgosi Mabe and other leading Kgosi tse ding mo Northwest. We are just appealing that that opportunity be created again, so that through Kgosi Mabe and the Kgosi as the commission, respecting their territory, you know, we can go back to those communities that we used to work with, but also Kgosi Mabe using his access to other houses of traditional leaders, you know, nationally, indicate that the Commission for Gender Equality has been the partner with the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders in the Northwest, and also in the Free State and the Eastern Cape. And we can actually replicate that in all the provinces, because our education officers have had the good experience of working with traditional communities. And also, maybe to add on the issue that was indicated earlier or highlighted earlier around culture, to say, in principle, there's nothing wrong with our cultures, especially as Black people. But what is wrong is people that abuses powers that they have, or abuses our culture or our understanding of culture to do the wrong things. And that is why it's important that the traditional leadership partners with not only the Commission for Gender Equality, but, you know, all other justice, or should I say non-governmental organizations that are promoting social justice, so that we can be able to clarify whatever myths, you know, that people have about cultures, and also make sure that people are not using culture to perpetuate, you know, wrong things, you know, in the name of culture. So partnering with traditional leaderships as we provide this education on gender-based violence, it will be very critical, and we like to do that side by side or together with, you know, a traditional leadership, so that nobody misrepresents the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rabu. Thank you so much. And I'm sure, knowing Kgosi Mabe, the way he's so passionate about the issues of social justice, he's available to, like I said earlier on, we've got also Honorable Faith Mutambi, who is the chairperson of COGSTA, Parliament Portfolio Committee on COGSTA in Parliament. And I'm sure also as an activist of social justice, she can assist in strengthening this partnership between various organizations and the houses of traditional leadership on the fight against gender-based violence. Thank you so much, Dr. Rabu. Kgosi Mabe, in closure.
Yeah, thanks very much for the inputs. And also thanks very much, Chairperson, for putting this together. I think one has noted the fact that we may not necessarily be speaking. What we need to do now is to put what we said into action, because our communities will need that type of leadership where we speak with one voice and we are together at all times. Whenever there are certain practices that the institution may have, overlooked and which are contributing, the best way is for us to come together and straighten those matters so that we should not be seen as leaders, even NGOs in public, one defending whatever position we are standing for. We should be standing out there and leading the nation to a better South Africa. So this is what I think we can be able to teach our society to think differently and to focus. Thank you very much.
We want to thank you for taking our invite, even though it was a short notice. Thank you so much. I remember when I was discussing with you, you said, no, you are a soldier, you are always available. When they say there is war, you stand up, you say, I'm available. You don't have to say, I'm not available on this date. Every time when people want your assistance, you are available. Thank you so much, Kgosi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all the participants who participated in this. I'm sure we'll be, in fact, say, if you did not leave your email address and contact, please leave those contacts that we can invite you in the next session. Thank you so much for looking in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.